Hello everybody, welcome to the table. Today we are going to take a quick look at the Boker Cataclyst, and now this is a knife that I have been keeping my eye on, and it's gone on several sales over the past couple of months, but recently the cheapest I found this knife was $20 at Kaviso. And so Kaviso is the drop slash mass drop site, and that is where they sell all of their knives now. So it was a legit site, and I did decide to drop $20 on this knife, and so they shipped it super quick to my door. And so what we have right here is the Boker Cataclyst, and this is actually a very EDC friendly frame lock knife, and so very budget friendly at this point as well. So I would actually quite recommend this knife because there's really not a whole lot wrong with it, and it has a lot going for it. So first off, let's take a look at the specs of the knife. So we are looking at a knife with an overall length here. We can see the overall length is about 6 7/8, almost 7 inches long. And the blade length itself is a little bit under 3 inches. So that might fit a lot of categories depending on the legalities in your area, but it feels in hand like a full-size knife. The blade is robust, the handle feels good in hand, it's quite grippy. The weight of this knife comes in at 2.79 ounces, so it is quite lightweight. And let's do a quick size comparison. We have a Benchmade mini Griptilian right here, so let's put those side by side. And we also have the Kershaw Blur. So let's put that one right on top. So it definitely falls right in between these two knives. It's very, very comparable to the mini grip. But overall, even though the length is under 7 inches, it still feels fairly robust in hand. And at less than 3 ounces, that's already a lot positive going for it. So taking a closer look at the Catalyst here, I always had my eye on this one because the design itself is fairly attractive. We have a really nice blade right here. So take a look at it. It's kind of like a faux clip point. We can see a very slight little dip here towards the tip of the blade. And the blade steel on this knife is 440C, which for Boker Plus and for $20, that's really, about what I would expect. This one here has a satin finish, and they also sell this exact same knife with a black coated blade as well. But we have this fuller running the full length of the blade. And when you look at the spine, what really impressed me at this budget level, you can see the spine is completely rounded. The blade stock is fairly thick for a blade of this size. So thick blade, fully rounded spine. We have jimping up here on top, which actually does work pretty well. And the blade itself, it is a flipper. So it runs on bearings. And we can see the flipper tab right there has a hole through it. And I don't know whether that's decorative or meant to serve a purpose, but there's also a little bit of jimping right here on the flipper tab. Very nicely done. And of course, being on bearings, it flips very well. The action is smooth. As you can see, it just drops right back in the handle. So very, very nice. So beautiful satin finish. We have the Boker Plus logo on one side. We have the US, I don't know if that's a serial number or a model number, 0222. And of course, on this side, we just have the blade steel designation 440C. So again, being at the budget we're at, this is a steel frame lock. And so we can see the steel frame lock has a bead blasted finish on it. There's no over travel stop, but really there doesn't really need to be, in my opinion. You can check out the centering on the blade right there. Slightly towards the show side, maybe a little bit, but really it's not rubbing. Very smooth. No issues with that. Checking out the lockup too. So take a look at the blade right there. Nice and early on that steel frame lock. So there's lots of room for wear on this knife. All of the screws on this knife, including the pivot, as well as the pocket clip and body screws, these are all T6 Torx, so you can use one bit to completely disassemble this knife. And that being said, I have not tried to disassemble this knife. I really have no reason to at this point, but I just wanted to let you know what the hardware is. Lanyard hole at the back, a very small lanyard hole, but they did include that, and you can see it passes through this back spacer. So we have blue G10 on the surface here and a blue G10 backspacer. At least I assume that is blue G10 as well. And the scale itself, so take a look at it. You can't really see, but these beveled sides on the exterior are smooth G10. And this line in the middle, this has, I don't know if you can hear that. I'll hold it up to the mic. So the middle line has some texture to it, and the sides are smooth, but it is beveled. And you can see that kind of matches how the frame lock looks as well. Everything on here is super well designed. You can see the pocket clip Pocket clip is a deep carry affair. It is a satin finish, so it's a little bit shinier than the rest of the handle. And it's only one position, so I don't think we can swap that around. You can see 2 screws in there, and I don't see any other mounting points for it. So it is going to be right-hand side tip up carry. And that, again, that's what most of us prefer in the knife world. So good choice for Boker there. But really just a solid knife. And so this one did go on flash sale. And like I said, it was $20 at the time, but you can still buy this knife now for only $5 more. So their regular price for the Boker Plus Catalyst at Kaviso, this blue variant, is $25. And so that's a pretty darn good deal, in my opinion, for what you're getting here. Considering this knife came out, it was like $60, $70. And I think at places like Smoky Mountain Knife Works, I've seen their variant for sale around $40. And I almost pulled the trigger at that price point, but I decided to wait a little bit longer. And sure enough, we had this really nice looking blue G10 version of the knife, $20, $25. I think that's within everyone's budget. And really considering what we're looking at here, I don't see any flaws. And in fact, there are some really nice positive attributes of this knife. The weight, 2.79 ounces. Take a look inside. I know it's hard to see, but right in here, you can see they actually milled out the steel frame lock side of this knife. So it's not focusing super well, but essentially the entire center line right here down the steel frame, they milled that out for weight reduction. And of course, not to mention the G10 side has no liner. It is just G10 for lightweight. So even though the blade stock is slightly thicker, let's do this comparison. So here's the steel thickness comparison. I'm not going to pull out calipers or anything, but it is certainly thicker than what we have on the Blur, which again is a larger knife, but it's very robust feeling. There's no play up and down, side to side. Blade is super sharp. The tip is super pokey, delicate almost, but it's that faux clip point that comes right down. And of course, Boker packaging is always impressive. They always like to include these tools, which is really cool. So we have this little Allen key. Well, it's not an Allen key, it's a Torx bit. So we have the T6 on this side. And is that a T8? I don't think they would include that, would they? Yeah, so they included the standard tools. So this is a T6 and a T8. You won't need the T8 for this knife, but they always throw this into every Boker box that I've bought before. So there we go, the Catalyst blue satin finish. And again, this is a foreign produced knife made in China, but it's pretty well done. So really no complaints here straight out of the box. I have a lot of good things to say about this, and I'm trying to struggle to find any flaws with it. It's just really good. And for 20, 25 bucks, you can't really do wrong here, guys. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions about the Catalyst, let me know below. Have a nice day, everyone. See ya.